The day I quit my six-figure corporate job, my mother actually cried. Not the proud, happy tears she shed when my brother Albert passed the bar exam. These were disappointed, mascara-staining tears that made me feel like I was 12 again, showing her a B+ on my report card. I'm Jasmine, and this is the story of how I burned my life to the ground and built an empire from the ashes. Sustainable fashion? Really? My father's voice carried that familiar tone of barely concealed disappointment as we sat around our family's mahogany dining table. You're throwing away a director position at Morgan Stanley for, what exactly? Making clothes out of bamboo? I took a slow sip of wine, trying to steady my nerves. It's more than that, Dad. The fashion industry is one of the biggest polluters in the world. I have a plan to... Your brother just made junior partner, Mum cut in, reaching over to squeeze Albert's arm. Maybe he could help you find something at his firm. They always need bright people in corporate law. Albert smiled that infuriatingly perfect smile of his. Of course, though environmental law isn't really our specialty. I don't need a job at your firm, I said, gripping my fork tighter. I've already found investors interested in my business plan. Sebastian Edwards, from Vogue, he's willing to partner with me. Oh, Sebastian, Mum brightened momentarily. Isn't he the, She made a vague gesture with her hand. Gay? Yes, Mom. And also one of the most influential people in sustainable fashion. Dad put down his knife with a sharp clink. Jasmine, be reasonable. You have responsibilities, a mortgage. What about your retirement plan? I've thought this through. I've saved enough runway for 18 months and... 18 months? Mum's hand flew to her chest. Darling, most businesses fail in the first year. Remember your cousin Rachel's organic soap company? This is different, I insisted, though my voice wavered slightly. The market is ready for change. People care about where their clothes come from now. People care about looking good, Albert chimed in, swirling his wine glass. They say they care about sustainability, but when it comes to actually spending money... I pushed my chair back abruptly, the legs scraping against hardwood. I need some air. Out on the balcony, the spring evening was cool against my flushed skin. I heard the sliding door open behind me and tensed, expecting another lecture. Hey! It was Eloise, my best friend since college, who'd been quietly observing the dinner drama. She handed me a fresh glass of wine. Your family's intense. I laughed bitterly. That's one way to put it. You know what I love about you? She leaned against the railing. You've always known exactly what you wanted, even back in college when everyone else was following the crowd into consulting and banking. Fat lot of good that did me. I followed the crowd anyway. But you're changing that now. She turned to face me. I saw your designs, Jas. They're amazing, and your business plan is solid. Inside, I could hear my parents fawning over Albert's latest case victory. Some things never changed. I swallowed hard. I just wish they could see what I see, just once. Then show them, Eloise said simply. Build something so incredible they can't ignore it. My phone buzzed, a text from Sebastian. Meeting with suppliers tomorrow at 9, ready to shake things up? I smiled, feeling a familiar fire ignite in my chest. You know what? I'm done trying to make them see. I'm done trying to make them proud. From now on, I'm doing this for me. Eloise clinked her glass against mine. That's my girl. When we went back inside, Dad was in full lecture mode. The family name means something in this city. We've built our reputation on solid traditional values. Your brother understands that. I grabbed my coat from the rack, surprising everyone with my sudden movement. You're right, Dad. The Nichols name does mean something. I met his eyes steadily. That's exactly why I'm going to build something that matters. Jasmine, Mum started, but I was already heading for the door. I'll see you all at Christmas, I called over my shoulder, or maybe sooner when my first collection launches. The door closed behind me with a satisfying thud. In my pocket, my phone buzzed again. Sebastian. Forgot to mention, Beatrice Rivera will be at tomorrow's meeting. She's interested in our concept. I smiled as I stepped into the elevator. They thought I was throwing everything away, but really, I was about to build something bigger than they could imagine. And somewhere deep inside, in a place I wasn't quite ready to acknowledge, a small voice whispered, "One day, they'll be the ones asking me for help. And when that day comes, I'll remember this dinner." 6 months into building my sustainable fashion brand, I found myself elbow deep in organic cotton samples when my phone lit up with Mum's weekly guilt trip. "Family dinner this Sunday. Albert has big news." Of course he did. I glanced at the mountain of work on my desk. Fabric swatches, supplier contracts, and the presentation I needed to finish for potential investors. "Sorry, can't make it. Deadline," I texted back. 3 dots appeared immediately. "You've missed the last 2. Your brother's announcement is important." Before I could respond, Sebastian burst into my tiny studio office, his usual dramatic entrance making the recycled paper samples flutter. "Darling, you need to see this." He thrust his iPad in front of me, showing an article about major fashion brands being exposed for greenwashing. "This is our moment. We need to move fast." I know. I'm working on the presentation, but these numbers—" "Forget the numbers for a second." Sebastian perched on my desk, his eyes sparkling with that look that usually meant trouble. "We need to get you in front of people, real people, and I know exactly where to start." My phone buzzed again. "Mum, he's making partner, youngest in the firm's history." I switched the phone to silent and turned to Sebastian. "I'm listening." "There's a sustainable fashion showcase next month. Small, exclusive, but all the right people will be there, including Beatrice Rivera." My stomach clenched. Beatrice was a legend in ethical fashion, known for her brutal honesty and impossibly high standards. "We're not ready for that." "We better get ready then." Sebastian started pacing, his energy filling our small space. "Look at what we've done in 6 months. The bamboo blend fabric, revolutionary. The zero waste pattern cutting, genius. We just need to package it right." A knock at the door interrupted us. Eloise walked in, carrying coffee and a concerned expression. "Your mum just called me. She's worried about you." "Of course she is," I muttered, accepting the coffee gratefully. "Did she mention Albert's making partner?" "Only 3 times," Eloise rolled her eyes. "But that's not why I'm here. Look what I found." She pulled up a social media post showing a major influencer wearing a fast fashion knockoff of one of my designs. My blood boiled. "They're already copying you," Sebastian said gleefully. "That means we're on to something." I stared at the photo, remembering my father's dismissive words about bamboo clothes. "The showcase," I said suddenly. "Let's do it." The next 3 weeks were a blur of all-nighters, coffee and panic attacks. We worked until our fingers bled, literally. I still have a scar from where I stabbed myself with a pin at 3 a.m. The morning of the showcase, I arrived early to set up our booth. Sebastian was already there, arranging our pieces with military precision. "Your parents coming?" he asked casually. "Didn't tell them?" I smoothed an invisible wrinkle from our signature bamboo silk dress. "They're probably busy celebrating Albert anyway." Sebastian squeezed my shoulder. "Their loss." The doors opened, and the space filled with buyers, journalists, and industry insiders. I pitched our concept over and over, watching eyes light up as people touched our fabrics, examined our zero-waste construction. Then Beatrice Rivera appeared at our booth. She picked up our bamboo silk blazer, running it through her fingers with an unreadable expression. "Interesting construction." I launched into our sustainability pitch, but she held up a hand. "I know all about your materials. I've done my research." She fixed me with a penetrating stare. What I want to know is, why are you really here? The question caught me off guard. I believe in sustainable fashion. Please, she set down the blazer. Everyone here believes in sustainable fashion, but you left a director position to start from scratch. That takes more than belief. That takes anger. I felt my carefully constructed professional facade crack. Excuse me? The best designers? They're all angry about something. The waste, the exploitation, the status quo. She smiled slightly. Or maybe something more personal. Before I could respond, my phone vibrated. A text from Eloise. Your family's celebration dinner is all over social media. Albert's firm is merging with your father's business. I looked up to find Beatrice watching me intently. The anger, she said softly. Use it, but don't let it use you. She picked up her bag and pulled out a business card. My next collection needs a collaborator, someone with fresh eyes and a fire in their belly. Call my office on Monday. As she walked away, Sebastian appeared at my side, practically vibrating with excitement. Did that just happen? I looked down at the card, then at my phone, showing photos of my beaming family celebrating without me. It's happening, I said, a slow smile spreading across my face. It's all happening. Your numbers are impressive, the investor said, tapping his pen against my business proposal. But this whole green fashion thing, it's just a trend. What happens when the wind changes? I sat in the sleek conference room, my carefully rehearsed pitch turning to ash in my mouth. 5 potential investors, all wearing expressions ranging from skeptical to outright dismissive. With all due respect, I started, but the woman at the end of the table cut me off. We've seen the collaboration with Beatrice. Creative, yes. Marketable, that's another question. She leaned forward. Consumers want affordable luxury, not guilt trips about the environment. My phone buzzed silently, probably Sebastian, waiting downstairs to either celebrate or console me. I ignored it. Our market research shows... Your market research shows what people say they want, another investor interrupted. But we've been in this business for decades. People lie about their shopping habits. I gathered my papers, my hands steady despite the fury building in my chest. Thank you for your time. Outside, Sebastian took one look at my face and steered me toward the nearest bar. That bad? Worse? I slumped onto a bar stool. They basically called me a naive idealist with a dying trend. Screw them. Sebastian ordered us both drinks. We'll find other investors. Will we? That's the 3rd rejection this month. I pulled out my phone, finally checking the message. It wasn't from Sebastian. Mum, dinner at our house tonight. Non-negotiable. Your father has news about the family business. Oh, God, I groaned, showing Sebastian the text. I can't deal with their success story right now, so don't go. And hear about it for the next year? No thanks. The family dinner was exactly as expected. Albert holding court at one end of the table, Mom beaming, Dad looking smugger than usual. The merger's going perfectly, Albert announced. We're modernising Dad's logistics company, bringing it into the digital age. That's wonderful, honey, Mum cooed, passing him more potatoes. Jasmine, how's your project going? I stabbed a piece of broccoli. It's a business, Mom, and it's... Speaking of business, Dad interrupted, have you seen the article about fast fashion making a comeback? Apparently, all this sustainable nonsense is losing steam. My fork clattered against the plate. That article was industry propaganda. If you'd actually read the data... The data shows what we already know, Albert said smoothly. People want cheap, trendy clothes. It's basic economics. Basic economics is exactly why we need to change. I pushed back my chair. The current model is unsustainable. The waste, the labour exploitation. Oh, here we go, Albert rolled his eyes. St. Jasmine, saving the world one overpriced organic t-shirt at a time. Albert, Mom warned, but I was already on my feet. You know what? I don't need this. I don't need any of this. I grabbed my bag and stormed out, but not before hearing Dad mutter, "At least one of our children understands business." Outside, rain had started to fall. Perfect. I ducked into my car and immediately called Sebastian. "We need to pivot," I said without preamble. "What happened?" "Everyone thinks we're just preaching sustainability. We need to prove we can be profitable and ethical." I started the engine. "Remember that design concept we shelved for being too commercial? The modular wardrobe system? Yeah, but get the team together. Tomorrow morning we're rebuilding everything." The next week was a blur of redesigns, late-night strategy sessions, and countless cups of coffee. We stripped our concept down to its bones and built it back up, focusing on versatility and luxury while maintaining our sustainable core. Then Beatrice showed up unannounced at our studio. "I heard about the investor meeting," she said, examining our new prototypes, "and about your redesign." I braced myself for criticism, but she surprised me. "You're angry again," she observed. "Good, but this time you're channeling it properly." She picked up our signature piece, a transformable jacket that could become 3 different garments. "This is smart, very smart, but not too commercial," Beatrice laughed. "Commercial isn't a dirty word, darling. The most sustainable clothing is the kind people actually want to buy." She set down the jacket. "I'm hosting a private showcase next month. Major buyers, serious investors. I want you there." My heart skipped. "Really? Really?" She headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and Jasmine, I heard about your family's business merger. Interesting timing." "What do you mean?" "Let's just say I know things about the logistics industry that your brother's fancy law degree might have missed." She smiled enigmatically. "Sometimes the old ways of doing business, they have a way of catching up with you." As she left, Sebastian appeared with a stack of design revisions. "Was that Beatrice? What did she want?" I looked at our new collection, then at Beatrice's retreating figure. "I think she just threw us a lifeline, and maybe—" I smiled slowly. "Maybe a little ammunition too." "Ms. Rivera says you're the future of sustainable luxury," the Vogue editor said, examining our collection. "I rarely hear her praise anyone like that." I stood in Beatrice's penthouse showroom, surrounded by the biggest names in fashion. Our redesigned collection hung alongside pieces worth more than my yearly rent, and somehow it didn't look out of place. "The transformable concept is brilliant," she continued. 3 pieces in one, all ethically produced. Have you considered scaling?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Dad's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. "We have manufacturing partners lined up," I said, demonstrating how the signature jacket transformed. "All vetted for ethical practices and—" My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Albert. "Answer Dad's calls. Important." I switched the phone to silent. "Sorry, as I was saying—" "Jasmine!" Sebastian appeared, practically bouncing. "The buyer from Nordstrom wants to talk numbers. Like, serious numbers." The next few hours were a whirlwind of business cards, handshakes, and terms I never thought I'd hear associated with my brand. By evening, we had 3 major orders and a potential investment deal that made my head spin. "Drink?" Beatrice appeared beside me as the crowd thinned, offering a glass of champagne. "God, yes," I accepted gratefully. "I can't believe this is happening." "Believe it," she clinked her glass against mine. "But remember what I said about your family's business?" I nodded, thinking of the dozens of missed calls from Dad and Albert. "The logistics industry is changing fast," she said. "Companies that don't adapt, well, let's just say I've seen it before. Old-school businesses trying to compete in a digital world." My phone lit up again, Mom this time. Please call when you can. Your father needs to discuss something urgent. Beatrice noticed. Sounds like reality is already catching up with them. What do you mean? She pulled out her tablet, showing me a business news article. Your father's company lost 3 major contracts this month. Apparently their systems are outdated. I scanned the article, my heart racing. The merger with Albert's firm was supposed to modernize everything, but according to this, they were hemorrhaging clients. I should feel bad, I said quietly, but you don't. It wasn't a question. No, I admitted, I don't. Sebastian interrupted with more good news. The Nordstrom deal was confirmed. We were going national. Later that night, I finally listened to my voicemails. Dad's voice was strained. Jasmine, we need to discuss something. Family matter. Call me back. Albert was next. Look, I know we've had our differences, but Dad really needs to talk to you. It's about the business. I was about to delete the rest when Eloise called. Have you heard? She asked without preamble. About Dad's company? Yeah, just now. No, about Albert. He's been posting cryptic things on LinkedIn about career transitions and new opportunities. I sat up straighter. What? Check your email. I sent you screenshots. Sure enough, there was Albert's perfectly curated professional profile, now sprinkled with the kind of corporate buzzwords people use when things are falling apart. My phone buzzed again. Mum, sweetheart, please come to dinner tomorrow. Your father has a business proposition for you. I laughed out loud. A business proposition? Now they want my input? Are you going? Eloise asked. I thought about all the family dinners where they dismissed my ideas, all the times Albert smirked about my little sustainable project, all the years of being the family disappointment. Oh, I'm going, I said, but not tomorrow. Let them sweat a little. Jasmine, I know, it's petty. I was going to say it's brilliant. I sent a quick text to Mom. Sorry, busy with major retail launch, maybe next week? The response was immediate. Please, it's important. Your father. I turned off my phone and poured myself another glass of wine. Outside my apartment window, the city lights twinkled. Somewhere out there, my family was probably having an emergency meeting, realizing their precious merger wasn't the golden ticket they thought it would be. My laptop pinged, an email from Beatrice. Forgot to mention, your collection's being featured in next month's Vogue. The headline? The Future of Fashion, How One Woman's Vision is Changing the Industry. I smiled, thinking of the magazine arriving at my parents' house. Mum always did love her Vogue subscription. Another email popped up, this one from Sebastian. Don't forget, meeting with international distributors tomorrow at 9. Time to go global, boss. I closed my eyes, savouring the moment. All those years of being the family failure. And now? My phone lit up one last time. A text from Albert. We need to talk. Dad's company is in trouble, real trouble. I'm sure it is, I whispered to the empty room. I'm sure it is. Your Vogue feature crashed our website, Sebastian announced, bursting into my office. We've had orders from 23 countries in the last hour alone. I barely looked up from my laptop, where I was reading yet another desperate email from Albert. That's great, have it handle it. It handle it? Jasmine, we're trending globally. This is what we've been working for. He paused, studying my face. What's wrong? I turned my screen toward him. My family's company lost their biggest client this morning. Apparently, their antiquated systems couldn't handle modern supply chain demands. Ah, Sebastian sat down. And how does that make you feel? Honestly, nothing. I feel nothing. I closed my laptop. Is that bad? Before he could answer, my assistant poked her head in. Beatrice Rivera is here. She says it's urgent. Beatrice swept in, looking immaculate as always. Darling, cancel your lunch. We need to talk strategy. I can't. I have a meeting with European distributors and... Trust me, this is more important." She waited until Sebastian left and closed the door. "Your brother is downstairs." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Security called. He's been waiting in the lobby for an hour." She perched on my desk. "Want me to have him removed?" I thought about it. God, I really thought about it. "No," I sighed. "Send him up." Albert looked different, rumpled, tired, missing his usual polished arrogance. "Nice office," he said, hovering in the doorway. "Very green. What do you want, Albert?" He ran a hand through his hair. "Can't I visit my successful sister?" "Cut the crap. Dad's company is tanking, isn't it?" "It's not that simple." He finally sat down. "The merger? There were complications. The modernization plan." "Failed spectacularly," I supplied. "We underestimated the technological requirements." He looked away. "And now our biggest client is using a competitor with better logistics software." "Fascinating." I checked my watch. "Is that all?" "Damn it, Jasmine!" He slammed his hand on my desk. "This isn't a game. Dad's legacy is at stake. The family name." "The family name." I stood up. "Now you care about the family name? Where was this concern when you were all mocking my little sustainable project?" "That was different. We were wrong, okay? Is that what you want to hear?" "What I want," I said slowly, "is for you to get to the real reason you're here." He deflated. "We need help. Your company. You have connections now. Modern systems. If we could partner." I started laughing. I couldn't help it. "This isn't funny." "It's hilarious, actually." I wiped my eyes. "You want a partner? After everything?" "We're family." "Family?" I walked to my window, overlooking the city. Was I family when Dad called my business plan a joke? When Mum kept trying to set me up with real jobs? When you— "I know," he said quietly. "I know we messed up, but please, just think about it." My phone buzzed, a text from Beatrice. "Whatever he's offering, remember, business is business. Family is a weakness they'll exploit." "I'll think about it," I said finally. "Now get out." After he left, Beatrice reappeared. "Well?" "They want a partnership," she laughed. "Of course they do. Your systems are exactly what they need. The question is, what do you need?" Before I could answer, Sebastian rushed in. "You need to see this!" He held up his tablet showing a business news website. The headline made my blood freeze. "Traditional logistics, giant faces bankruptcy. Family-owned business on the brink." "It's everywhere," Sebastian said softly. "All the major outlets are running the story." My phone started ringing. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. "What are you going to do?" Beatrice asked. I stared at the headline, remembering every dismissive comment, every condescending smile, every family dinner where I felt invisible. "Jasmine," Sebastian prompted. "Set up a meeting," I said finally. "Full board, all stakeholders. I want to hear exactly how bad things are." "And then?" I thought about the Vogue feature, about our global expansion, about all the nights I cried myself to sleep thinking I wasn't good enough. And then, I smiled, I'm going to make them an offer they can't afford to refuse. "Be careful," Beatrice warned. "Revenge might feel good, but this isn't about revenge." I picked up my phone, finally reading Mom's desperate text messages. This is about power, and for the first time in my life, I have it. I typed a quick response. "Family dinner, tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'll bring the contracts." Sebastian whistled low. "You're really going to do this?" "Oh, yes," I said, watching another call from Dad light up my screen. "I'm really going to do this." And somewhere deep inside, that angry, hurt little girl who was never good enough finally stopped crying. The family dining room felt smaller than I remembered. Maybe it was the stack of contracts in my briefcase, or maybe it was the way Mum's hands shook as she served dinner. "You look professional," she said, eyeing my power suit. The same one I'd worn in the Vogue shoot. "Thanks." I left my briefcase prominently displayed on the sideboard. Where's Dad? In his study with Albert. They're reviewing some papers. I bet they were. When they finally emerged, Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. Albert just looked defeated. "Shall we eat first?" Mum suggested brightly. "I made your favourite lasagna." "Actually," I set down my fork, "let's talk business." Dad's jaw tightened. "Jasmine?" "I've seen the numbers," I cut in. "All of them, including the ones you've been hiding from your shareholders." Albert's head snapped up. "How did you—" "I have good lawyers, better ones than you apparently." I opened my briefcase. "You're not just losing clients. You're hemorrhaging money trying to maintain outdated systems. The merger was a band-aid on a bullet wound." "Now listen here," Dad started, but I held up my hand. "No, you listen. For once in your life, just listen." I spread out the documents. "I'm offering to save your company, but I have conditions." Mum made a small, distressed sound. "Surely we can discuss this as a family." "That's exactly what we're doing," I smiled. "Being family." I pulled out the first contract. "Option 1, I buy controlling interest. You keep the company name, but I modernize everything. My systems, my people, my rules." "Absolutely not," Dad snapped. "Option 2, we merge. Equal partnership. But," I held up a finger as Dad opened his mouth, "I get final say on all technological implementations and sustainable practices." Albert leaned forward. "That's actually reasonable." "I'm not done." I pulled out the final document. "You both resign from active management, consulting positions only." The explosion was immediate. Dad's face turned purple, Mum started crying, and Albert jumped to his feet. "This is extortion!" Dad shouted. "This is business," I corrected calmly. "Isn't that what you always taught me? Business is business." "We're your family." "Yes, and look how well that's worked out for everyone." Albert paced the room. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "Honestly?" I looked him in the eye. "Yes, I am." "Jasmine," Mum pleaded, "think about what you're doing. Your father built this company from nothing. And I built mine from nothing too. The difference is, mine's actually succeeding." Dad slumped in his chair. "You want revenge? Fine, you've got it. We were wrong about you. Is that what you want to hear?" "What I want," I said slowly, "is for you to understand exactly how it feels. To have everything you've worked for hanging by a thread. To need someone's help so desperately it makes you sick." The room fell silent except for Mum's quiet sniffling. "You have 24 hours, I continued, standing up. "After that, I withdraw both offers. And believe me, there are plenty of competitors who'd love to pick over your carcass." "You wouldn't," Albert whispered. I gathered my things. "Try me." "Wait," Mum called as I reached the door. "You haven't touched your lasagna." I turned back, taking in the scene, my broken father, my shell-shocked brother, my tearful mother. For a moment, just a moment, I wavered. Then I remembered all the dinners where they'd dismissed my dreams, all the times they'd praised Albert while ignoring my achievements. "I'm not hungry," I said. "Call me when you've made a decision." Outside, Eloise was waiting in her car. "How'd it go?" "Exactly as expected." I buckled my seatbelt. "They'll cave. They have to." "And then what?" "Then?" I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to me. "Then I win." My phone buzzed. A text from Beatrice. "Remember what I said about anger? It's a good fuel, but a terrible compass." I ignored it. Another text came through, this one from Albert. "You've made your point, but ask yourself, is this really who you want to be?" I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. "It's who you all made me." "Where to?" Eloise asked. I looked back at the house where I'd never quite belonged, where I'd never been quite good enough. "The office," I said. "I have a company to run, maybe two." As we drove away, I felt powerful. I felt vindicated. I felt empty. But that didn't matter now. Business is business after all, right? The deadline came and went. No call from my family. I was in a meeting with Sebastian when Mum showed up at my office unannounced. "Your father's in the hospital," she said without preamble. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. "What? Stress-induced heart attack." Her voice cracked. "Minor, thank God. But the doctor said—" Sebastian quietly excused himself, closing the door behind him. "Is he okay?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. "Physically, he'll recover." Mum sat down heavily. "But this company, it's killing him, Jasmine. He built it from nothing when I was pregnant with Albert. Did you know that?" "Mum, he used to carry you around the warehouse when you were little. You'd point at all the big trucks and say, 'Zoom, zoom.'" She wiped her eyes. "Now you're using it to destroy him." "I'm trying to save it." "By forcing him out, by humiliating him." She shook her head. "The media's having a field day. Eco-fashion maven poised for hostile takeover of family business. Is that what you wanted?" My phone buzzed. "Beatrice, have you seen the Business Insider article? This isn't the kind of publicity we need." "I didn't." I swallowed hard. "The offers were fair." "Fair?" Mum laughed bitterly. "You're his daughter. When did this become about fair?" Before I could respond, Albert burst in. "Did you tell her?" "I was getting there," Mum sighed. "Tell me what?" Albert ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. "Dad's stepping down. Effective immediately. Doctor's orders." The room spun slightly. "But the company is being carved up by vulture capitalists as we speak." He fixed me with a hard stare. "Congratulations, you won. The family business will be gone by the end of the month." "That's not what I wanted." "Then what did you want?" Mum asked quietly. "Revenge? Recognition? Was it worth it?" My phone kept buzzing, probably Sebastian with more press inquiries. I switched it off. "Where is he?" I asked. "Mount Sinai. But Jasmine—" I was already grabbing my coat. "Take me there." The hospital room was dim, making Dad look smaller than I'd ever seen him. He was awake, staring out the window. "Zoom, zoom," I said softly from the doorway. He turned. "Your mother told you about that?" "Yeah," I hesitated. "Can I come in?" He nodded, and I perched awkwardly on the visitor's chair. "The doctors say I need to avoid stress," he said finally. "No more 60-hour weeks, no more emergency board meetings." "Dad, I never meant—" "Let me finish." He adjusted his position, wincing slightly. "I was wrong about you, about your business. I was so focused on protecting my legacy that I couldn't see you building your own." Tears pricked at my eyes. "The offers? I can change them, make them more—" "No." He reached for my hand. "The company's done. Maybe it's time. The world's changing, and I didn't change with it." But nothing. You were right about the systems being outdated, about everything, really." He smiled sadly. "I just couldn't bear to hear it from my little girl." A knock at the door interrupted us. It was Beatrice. "Sorry," she said, "but this couldn't wait." She held up her tablet. "The vultures are circling. They're planning to strip the company for parts. Hundreds of jobs will be lost." Dad closed his eyes. "All those families?" I stood up suddenly. "No." "Jasmine?" Beatrice raised an eyebrow. "Get me Sebastian, and our lawyers, all of them." "What are you thinking?" I looked at Dad, remembering the little girl who used to ride on his shoulders through the warehouse. "We're going to save it. Not my way, not your way." I squeezed Dad's hand. "Our way." "The contracts," he started. "Forget the contracts. We'll draw up new ones, equal partnership for real this time. Your experience, my innovation, together." Beatrice smiled slowly. "Now that would make a headline." Dad's eyes were bright. "You'd do that?" On one condition. I straightened my shoulders. You have to actually listen to my ideas, all of them, even the crazy sustainable ones. He laughed, then winced, holding his chest. Deal. Mum and Albert appeared in the doorway, having obviously been eavesdropping. Does this mean we can have a normal family dinner again? Mum asked hopefully. Define normal, Albert snorted. My phone buzzed back to life. Sebastian had texted approximately 50 times. Get up here, I wrote back. We have a company to rebuild. Actually, make that 2 companies. I looked around the room, at my father in his hospital bed, my anxious mother, my relieved brother, and Beatrice's knowing smile. Well, I said, shall we begin? That's how we're integrating sustainable practices into traditional logistics, I concluded, stepping back from the podium. The industry conference audience burst into applause. Dad stood up from his front row seat, beaming. His cardiac rehab had done wonders. He looked 10 years younger than that day in the hospital. Not bad, Albert whispered as I joined them, though you forgot to mention my brilliant legal framework. Your brilliant framework that nearly got us sued last month? Details, details. Sebastian appeared, tablet in hand. Forbes wants an interview. They're calling us the future of ethical business integration. Tell them we'll do it, Dad said before I could respond. Together. The transformation hadn't been easy. Merging an old-school logistics company with a sustainable fashion brand had raised more than a few eyebrows. But watching our electric delivery trucks, decorated with my designs, roll through the city made it all worth it. Jasmine, Beatrice's voice cut through the crowd. A moment. I excused myself and followed her to a quiet corner. Remember when I told you anger makes a terrible compass? She smiled. I was wrong. Your anger led you exactly where you needed to be. To be fair, I nearly destroyed my family getting here. But you didn't. She handed me a glass of champagne. You built something better instead. My phone buzzed, Mom sending photos of the new warehouse. She'd taken over employee wellness programs, transforming the break rooms into spaces that actually made people want to come to work. The board meeting starts in 10, Sebastian reminded me. Our board or their board? Both, actually, joint session. I grinned. The monthly joint board meetings had become legendary. Dad and I facing off over sustainability metrics, while Albert played referee and Mum brought homemade cookies that made even the toughest executives soften. Speaking of boards, Beatrice said casually, I'm stepping down from mine. What? Why? Because you're ready to take my seat. She held up a hand as I started to protest. The industry needs new blood, people who understand both tradition and innovation. I don't know what to say. Say yes, but first handle that. She nodded toward the entrance, where a familiar figure had just walked in. Rachel, my cousin whose organic soap company had failed, stood awkwardly clutching a portfolio. She wants to pitch you something, Albert explained, appearing at my elbow. Something about sustainable packaging. I thought about all the family dinners where they'd compared her failure to my potential failure. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. Send her up to my office in an hour, I said. Going to get some revenge? Albert teased. No. I watched Rachel nervously straightening her jacket, going to give her what I never got, a fair chance. The board meeting was typically chaotic. Dad argued for faster expansion while I pushed for careful scaling. Albert mediated while reviewing contracts. Mum's cookies disappeared within minutes. The Sustainable Shipping Initiative is cutting into profits, one board member complained. Short term, Dad surprised everyone by saying, but my daughter taught me something about long-term thinking. Show them the projections, Jasmine. I pulled up the charts, remembering all the times my presentations had been dismissed at family dinners. Our carbon-neutral shipping program has attracted 3 major international clients, I explained. They're willing to pay premium rates for guaranteed ethical delivery. Like I said, Dad smiled, my daughter knows what she's talking about. After the meeting, I found him staring out my office window at the city below. Having regrets, I asked, about letting you revolutionize my company, about finally listening to your ideas? He turned. My only regret is that it took a heart attack to make me see what was right in front of me. Well, you always were stubborn. Wonder where you got that from? We laughed, the sound free of old tensions and resentments. My phone buzzed, Sebastian reminding me about Rachel's pitch meeting. Want to sit in? I asked Dad. Give her the full family business experience? He nodded. As long as you lead, I'm just the consultant now, remember? Co-CEO, I corrected. Partner, equal. Partner, he agreed. Finally. As we waited for Rachel, I looked around my office. At the Sustainable Fashion Awards sharing shelf space with logistics industry honours, at Mum's plants brightening every corner, at Albert's legal books mixed with my design portfolios. You know, Dad said softly, sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better, I finished. The intercom buzzed. Rachel was here. Ready? Dad asked. I straightened my jacket, thinking of all the paths that had led to this moment. Ready, I said, and opened the door to whatever came next.